I have to do that. One mission until I've gotten everything from that mission. Because remember, the point of all of this is very simple. The point of all of this is to do as much as humanly possible without casualties. I hope my voice is recording because I don't have a phone nearby.
This is an infiltration. You've got to stay out of sight. Before you go any further, use your binoculars to recon the area. What do you see? Press the call button to get more intel.
I don't know.
Keep low. You can check the controls on the power screen. To climb an obstacle, press the action button. There's a guard up there. If you're going to eliminate him, use a gun. Now head east to the
I was going to use a spoon.
You can find the target's location on your iDrive.
There we go.
Move the bodies of enemies somewhere out of sight. For dealing with nearby enemies.
Ready? I would call myself slightly on edge today. Not 100% sure why.
Take a good look at the enemy through your binoculars, and you can mark him. Marked enemies can be sensed when nearby, even if there's a wall between you and them. But it only works.
Okay. I have the normal PS5 controller. I think there's a Pro version, isn't there?
Prisoners, you gonna help them? If you want to distract him, carry him to the RV and call in the chopper. Down just as hard to do when they pass. I live on these for my country. I can't believe we ever got that cover story.
I'm guessing you didn't come here just to save my ass. Am I right?
Well, I was going to save the rest of you too. Boy! There we go. If I'm playing funky, it's because I watched somebody else playing funky. And now I'm trying to do what they did. Okay, well, he's asleep. Why isn't our buddy over there asleep? I shot him, didn't I? And who is asking if who is okay? This guy. There we go. Alright. Alright, so... Yeah, I thought that was a guy. This guy. This guy just will not go to sleep. Weird. Hey.
You're way too exposed there. Find some cover and stick to it.
But he had a handful of people behind him.
Those tranquilizer rounds are only good for putting your target to sleep. They won't help you break anything.
Okay, he's checking himself.
That range is well enough. It'll help you stay out of sight, but watch you don't get hypothermia. Some cover. Your mission objective is entirely up to you, boss. So what is it? Have an organization to attract
This is the only way to do this, so that it continues to play. I don't know why.
Wrong idea. Sure. Boss, just do it. Element. Issues the deal is very. She's alive. She was rescued by a Belizean fisherman who found her drifting in the Caribbean. So what's the plan? Silence her before we're compromised? No. I've got something else in mind. Our friends at Cypher suspect Paz could be a double agent. She's being held for interrogation at a camp on the southern tip of Cuba. Black site. Nice. A slice of American pie on communist soil, and out of U.S. legal jurisdiction. The upcoming inspection of Mother Base has to be connected somehow. The timing's too perfect. The UN's nuclear inspection. My guess is they're trying to corroborate Paz's leak. We're an army without a nation. Word of our capabilities gets out, and we'll have the whole world out to shut us down. Having an American private intelligence agency involved is bad news. Cypher's the ones who sent Paz to us in the first place. She knows their true nature. Right. Paz is our only link to Cypher. If she's still alive, we need her on our side. If not us, who else is gonna rescue that bitch? When do we do it? The inspection comes first. We'll deal with us afterwards. Do the men know? Word has started to spread. The information came from Cuba through Amanda. One of the base personnel used to belong to El Frente. I'll tell everyone
Car's
we don't
gone.
concern ourselves with the survival of enemy spies. We need them focused on the inspection. And if we get her back here and she isn't cooperative, there's still plenty of room for her in the ocean. Works for me. What about Chico? He had a chance to stop Paz from hijacking Zeke and he blew it. He's carried that guilt ever since. Kid really did care about her. Chico, it's hard to say how he'll react. Have Amanda call him out to Cuba. He shouldn't be here right now. Good idea. They haven't seen each other in a while. Little time with Big Sis and he'll forget all about you-know. What? Still no sign of Chico? What's going on? It's Amanda in Cuba. Our resupply package arrived, but Chico wasn't with it. Relax, Amanda. I'm sure he's just exploring Havana or something. First time in the big city. Could have gotten carried away. Cos, wait. The boat Chico was on, did it stop anywhere before it got to Havana? Yeah, it had to refuel at Santiago de Cuba. You don't think... Oh, shit. You gotta be kidding me. He does this now? It's 60 miles from Santiago to the prison camp. Chico used to cross the mountains with the older Sandinistas like it was nothing. He'll make that in 3 days. Still, even if he does find his way there... You know how reckless he can be.
Chico thinks we've abandoned Paz. That's why he's doing this.
We'll start by having the intel detachment in Cuba look for him. We can't let him be captured.
Cages to the east of the big building. It's an old, grassy facility. That's where we are. Help me, Snake.
It's a setup.
We have no choice.
Yeah. If Chico talks, he could blow the nuke cover up. We can't hold off until the inspection's over.
When can we be ready?
It'll take at least 16 hours to confirm the flight path and prep a bird. The intel unit has started reconning the area.
Sounds like I'll have to miss the inspection.
Boss, we'll just have to send someone else to get them out.
No. I'll go.
Yeah. Chico and Paz would only take orders from you anyway. We can't go taking on those Marines at the base head on. It's gotta be off the radar, and it's gotta be you.
Hold down the fort, Cos.
The expression is hold the fort,
You
not
can
hold
forget
down the
about civil
fort.
liberties where you're headed. God only knows what they'd do to you if you got caught. Do not let that happen. The Cubans leased the land to the U.S. as a gesture for helping them gain independence from Spain. The deal remains in effect until both countries agree to dissolve it, or the U.S. abandons the land. That's why America still operates the base even after La Revolucion. Problem is, it's leased land.
Meaning it isn't American soil, so the U.S. Constitution doesn't apply there. That allows them to withhold its civil rights protections.
Yeah, that's Uncle Sam's excuse. The area was originally only for detaining refugees from countries like Cuba and Haiti. But a few years ago, the CIA and its like started using it as a black site. Enemies of the state are renditioned there and subjected to extreme forms of interrogation. You can bet Cypher had a hand in that. As you'd expect, American and other Western human rights organizations aren't allowed anywhere near the place. What happens there disappears down the memory hole.
Who knows what they're doing to Chico and Paz?
I'd like to interrogate her ourselves, but if worst comes to worst, make sure she's dead. Chico, on the other hand, we have to bring back, fast. He knows too much about us.
Cos?
The area is surrounded by mines placed by both the U.S. and Cuba, making escape on foot impossible. You're heading into the lion's den, Snake. Don't take this one lightly. Come back in one piece.
Yeah.
What a pain in the ass.
I heard about Paz's tapes.
Yeah. Why do you think she'd leave him behind? And that diary?
Whatever it was, her commitment was wavering. That much is clear.
So she was leaving clues to help us.
No way to know for sure. And the ocean's not giving her back.
November 4th, 1974. At the outskirts of Barranquilla, Colombia. Contact with Big Boss successful. Zadornov posed as my professor, but Big Boss took one look and knew he was KGB. However, he does not seem to suspect me. To him, I am just a peace-loving student, and another victim of the CIA. We asked him to drive the CIA out of Costa Rica. To him, this means betraying his country. His forces are smaller than anticipated. They drift from place to place with nowhere to call home. That provided us an opportunity, so we seized it. Zadornov offered them a plant off the Costa Rican coast to use as a base. As expected, Miller jumped at the chance. Although initially reluctant, Big Boss came around when Zadornov played him the tape. Naked Snake, the man who once saved the world from the brink of nuclear war. Awarded the title of Big Boss for his service. He later became a mercenary, abandoning both his title and his country. To him, that honor was steeped in the blood of the boss, the mentor he was forced to eliminate. exceptionally charismatic. He possesses unparalleled combat and intelligence-gathering abilities. His only discernible weakness is her. This operation hinges on how effectively we can exploit them. Kazuhiro Miller is Big Boss's lieutenant. Half Japanese, half American. He once served in Japan's Self-Defense Force. Though he and Snake first met as enemies, they discovered a common bond and together built their private army, with Miller directing business and administrative affairs. He comes off as shallow, but his true intent is hard to read. I must be careful. All that is clear is his infatuation with Big Boss. With East and West fighting over its control, Central America is now the most contested region on Earth. CIA Central American Station Chief Coldman has developed Peace Walker, a fully AI-automated, fail-deadly nuclear launch system with which he aims to reignite the Cold War. Snake's new objective in Costa Rica is to prevent that. The doorknobs, or should I say, the KGB's plan is to play the two sides against each other, turning the entire region red. Not one of the three parties realize they're all just pawns in Cypher's hands. Cypher watches all. Mother Base has developed rapidly since being established in the Caribbean Sea. They recruit more personnel daily, and already their mercenary services are turning a profit. Big Boss's leadership and charisma, and Miller's business acumen drive this impressive growth. Furthermore, joining forces with a faction of the FSLN has expanded their power even more. They have even commenced their own weapons development program. All is proceeding according to Cypher's will. I could not be more pleased. Snake's pursuit of Peace Walker led him to an AI modeled after the boss's thought patterns. It was incomplete, but somewhat ironically, making contact with Snake was the necessary finishing touch. Meanwhile, the scientist behind Peace Walker's locomotive control, Huey, defected to Snake's army. His presence has greatly accelerated weapons development at Mother Base. I failed to anticipate Coldman's madness, but nuclear war was averted. However, this was only after the boss AI on board Peace Walker sank itself to the bottom of the lake, in what could be likened to suicide. The boss laid down her gun, choosing to sing for peace instead, and Snake, himself a gun, parted ways with her. In doing so, he reclaimed the title he once abandoned. He is Big Boss. Zadornov has been detained. Since this leaves my cover identity without a guardian, the Mother Base staff has taken me in. I am now better placed than ever to monitor their internal affairs. Everything continues to unfold according to plan. The developer of the boss AI, Dr. Strangelove, has also come to Mother Base. With her and Huey's expertise, they can now develop a weapon capable of matching Peace Walker. Development on the bipedal weapon is now complete. They call it Metal Gear Zeke. It stands there like some sort of mystical guardian. The soldiers gaze on it with pride and reverence. Big Boss has elected to arm it with a nuclear weapon. As an army without a nation, they seem to feel the need for a deterrent against whatever the world might pit against them. It is a dangerous gamble. Why do such a thing? Their nuclear strategy differs from the Americans and the Soviet Union. The superpowers deter attack by revealing their nuclear arsenals to one another. Snake and his men know that if they were to go public with this, the whole world would unite against them. Business would dry up overnight. So they do not plan on revealing the nuke until necessary. This ace-in-the-hole approach is their idea of a nuclear strategy. Wielding a deterrent, all the while unable to reveal its existence. I wonder if Snake sees how vulnerable this makes them. hijack Zeke? Yes, I did indicate that to be our leverage. But I cannot imagine his agreeing to that now. But did you not raise them to safeguard your governance without borders? No, no. I have not forgotten. Cipher watch is all. Yes, things are proceeding. But modifying Zeke has not proven easy. I am using Zadornov to buy some time. No, I have not forgotten what you said. However... Well, forgive me for asking, but... This is you I am speaking to, isn't it? Cipher. I must. I will fight Big Boss. The world must be ruled by a single will. To defy Cipher is a fate worse than death.
Roger that chopper request. It's headed your way now.
The man that with no more money from the KGB, I could no longer afford school. He bought my story. And when I said I would be willing to work, he took pity on me and let me stay. For some reason, Miller really pled my case. That was helpful. But the man is still a fool. His men are no better. They think their training makes them strong. But that kind of strength is nothing in the face of true power. And better yet, they wait on me hand and foot, believing I am just a schoolgirl. Looks like I won't be working too hard after all. Just today, while scouting out the living quarters, I saw a group of them in the corner of the deck making a fuss. Going over for a look, I saw they were feeding a kitten. A bunch of grown hard men, and they're the ones acting like schoolgirls. Look, isn't he cute? What is wrong with him? Disgusted, I just nodded and smiled. I named it Nuke. I improvised some nonsense about how our compassion for living things can help prevent wars. The men gave me a little fish. I held it out in my palm, and the kitten happily ate it up. What a pathetic, feeble creature. It sickens me. Today, Chico invited me to go fishing with the soldiers. I suppose finding one's own food does have its merit, but I prefer not to be involved in such a degrading task. And that prattling on about fishing being fun is nonsense. I'm not here to find playmates. Nevertheless, distasteful as it was, I went along in order to maintain my cover. Chico thrust a fishing pole into my hands, and we went up onto the deck where several soldiers had gathered. They welcomed us warmly. With so few women aboard Mother Base, I'm treated like a princess. No one suspects I am neither a teenager nor a student. It was nice and sunny, with a gentle breeze and waves. As I cast my line and waited for a bite, the soldiers began to ask me all sorts of questions. As always, I answered according to our predefined scenario, feigning a smile. As I sat there feeding them lies, the fish began to bite, and the soldiers began to focus on their prey. Chico had his bait stolen by a fish, and got so angry that he stood up and nearly fell into the sea. Everybody laughed. It almost made me want to join in too. At some point, I got a bite myself. The instant after I felt that first gentle tug, the fish yanked the line with astonishing strength, and I let out a cry of surprise. I thought he was going to be huge. It was my first time fishing, and I was a bit flustered, so the soldier beside me helped by supporting the pole from behind. "Reel it in," they shouted. I nodded, turning the handle as fast as I could. I wondered what kind of fish lived below the surface, and thought back to the deep sea dives I had to do as part of training. Those were difficult days, but I remember finding the multicolored fish gliding through the water incredibly soothing. After a hard fight, I pulled it out. To my surprise, it wasn't even half a vara, rather anticlimactic. But I wasn't doing it for fun, so I wasn't the least bit disappointed. Nuke was hovering nearby with an expectant look on his face, so I gave the fish to him. All in all, a thoroughly wasted day. Preparations are coming along nicely. No one suspects me of being the one to let Zadarnov out of his cell. Today, Amanda and I taught Cecile how to make gallo pinto. It is a simple home-cooked dish consisting of black frijoles mixed with arroz. It is well known throughout Central America, not just in Costa Rica, so it is no surprise that a Nica like Amanda would be good at making it. But I was raised in the States from a very young age, and can hardly even remember my mother's gallo pinto. Having to make chit-chat with that clueless bird lover and the so-called revolutionary was excruciating. And, clueless or not, I wanted to be especially careful around Cecile, the one who actually recorded that tape. Thankfully, Miller and his men seemed to believe I mistook the tape I found for one my friend made. In any case, one can never be too careful. Anyway, the three of us minced garlic and herbs, then cooked them in a pot with frijoles we'd soaked overnight. While waiting for them to cook, we sautéed onions and arroz in a frying pan. Cecile worked the frying pan according to Amanda's directions, but seemed a bit glum. She does have a knack for cooking, though. She is French, after all. We added water to the pan and watched the arroz begin to steam. While we waited, Amanda shared memories of her mother with us. They had been separated because of Simosa, but the taste of her mother's cooking was still fresh in her mind. When the frijoles were ready, we drained the water, stir-frying them with the rest of the vegetables. Quite a complicated process for home cooking. Nonetheless, it kept them occupied. The longer we sat and talked, the greater the chance of my arousing their suspicions. With women, it is not enough to just bat your eyelashes and giggle. It takes a lot of effort to divert attention. When the arroz was done cooking, we folded it into the frijoles and added salsa, stirring the mixture as it simmered. At this point, for some reason, the conversation turned to romance. Why does it have to be that way whenever women get together and chat? Cecile fancies herself to be well-versed in such matters, and gave Amanda all sorts of advice. It was harmless enough, until, to my irritation, she began pestering me whether there was anybody I liked. Not right now, I said, trying to dodge the question. But she pressed on. It's Snake, isn't it? I gritted my teeth and played it coy. Maybe. Cecile nodded and giggled. He is pretty sexy, isn't he? What a diss. It's all I can manage to just survive. This thought of romance has never once crossed my mind. I have no interest in that kind of man. Soon enough, a rich aroma began to fill the room. The gallo pinto was ready. New came over and rubbed up against our legs, looking for a handout. Unfortunately, it was not the kind of food a cat would like. We let a few of the soldiers have a bite, and then headed off to the mess hall. The home-cooked flavor we'd achieved was a big hit with the men of Mgsv. Not that we are trying to impress them or anything. Even I could manage a dish like that. Snake enjoyed it too. Let me make this absolutely clear. I have no interest in that man. Football, or soccer as it is known in the States, is extremely popular here. It has not caught on yet in the US, but it has legions of rabid fans all across Latin America. These fans can get so rowdy that it is commonly believed El Salvador and Honduras went to war in 1969 over scuffles in a soccer match. In reality, tensions between the two countries were already high. The match was merely one of the sparks that set them off. But these people are so passionate about this sport that the story seems plausible. Predictably, many of the soldiers here are fans. They have apparently divided themselves into Costa Rican and Nicaraguan teams and started playing each other. To play, you need a ball and 2 goals. The R&D team built and set up simple goals on the deck. I had absolutely no interest, but Chico insisted that I come and watch. It was not a proper carnival. Huey, the referee, blew a whistle to start the match. The soldiers' training has left them in excellent physical shape, but they lack the honed skills of professionals, and their play was quite rough. Midway through, one of the men collided with another. They started shouting at one another, but Huey stepped in. "I thought we had forsaken our countries, become one with the earth," he said, quoting Snake. "We're not competing for national pride here, and we are not fighting for the good of any one country. This is not a war. Soccer is a peaceful sport, am I right?" The soldiers nodded. They know the pain of war, and they share Snake's vision. Perhaps that is why all this resonates with them. Team Costa Rica was down a man, and somehow I was picked to fill in. Costa Rica had the advantage up until that point. I suppose Huey wanted to keep it balanced. The soldiers agreed with Huey's call. Maybe the Costa Rican players felt an even matchup would be more fun too. I could not be bothered to run at first, but chasing the ball out there in the hot sun, I was soon drenched in sweat. Before long, I found myself actively seeking out the ball, partially out of desperation. I picked up a loose ball deep on the opponent's side of the field. Even though he's Nicaraguan, Chico cheered me on, yelling, "Go for it, shoot!" I launched the ball as hard as I could, only to have it blocked by the keeper. Disappointment only increased my determination. In the end, I didn't score a single goal, and Costa Rica gave up its lead. It was really close, though. We congratulated each other on a good match and sprawled out in the shade on the deck, exhausted. The ocean breeze felt so nice on my sun-soaked body. Nuke came over. It is one of his favorite spots, and stretched out next to me. And together, we watched fluffy white clouds drift lazily across the clear blue sky. It was lovely out today, so I decided to sun myself in a lounge chair up on the deck when Strangelove came up to me. Despite the heat, she was in her usual long sleeves and pants. I waved at her. She looked away and mumbled, "Hello there. Fancy meeting you here." I asked if she needed anything, feeling her eyes creeping up and down my body like she was savoring it. Finally, she swallowed and said, "You have such beautiful skin." Bewildered, I shook my head and said, "No, not at all. I had heard rumors that she was a lesbian, but she couldn't be after me, could she?" She continued to stare and said, "No, it is beautiful, but you must not let yourself get so tanned." And then she took my hand in hers. "What is wrong with a little sun?" I asked, trying to cut the conversation short. But she shook her head violently. "No, you mustn't. A young lady should take better care of her skin." She was acting strangely now, as if aroused. She lectured me on the perils of tanning, how it ages skin, causing wrinkles and spots, and in the worst cases, even skin cancer. I knew already that tanning could cause spots, but I thought only pale-skinned Anglo-Saxons had to deal with that. Having a scientist tell me it causes aging, though, that spooked me a little. If I am to keep playing the teenager, I will have to start paying more attention to my skin. Sensing my anxiety, she took a small tube from her pocket. She said it was the sunscreen she always used. She told me to keep it. I didn't know what to say. I was more than happy to take it, but exactly what were her intentions? Was she merely being nice? Or is she really into me? Either way, there was no reason to refuse, I suppose. I have undergone training. An out-of-shape woman does not pose any real threat to me. Having power means not being afraid. It is the same on a global scale. A country with nukes can dictate terms to a country without them. I thanked her and took the tube. Then she offered to put some on for me. She squirted some lotion onto her fingers and began rolling it into my chest. It happened so suddenly, and I was so taken aback that I did not even think to protest. She caressed my stomach with her long white fingers, then slid them upwards between my bikini-clad breasts. What? Wait, I sputtered as her moist eyes met mine. She was beautiful. Somehow, I found myself captivated by this woman more than 10 years my elder. Hold still, she whispered in my ear. I nodded silently, unable to refuse. My body went limp, motionless, as if in a trance. Gently, carefully, she rubbed the lotion all over my entire body. I shouldn't have enjoyed it, and yet I could not help myself. For a moment, I was spellbound. That woman is dangerous. I had better watch myself. Protecting one's health is an important part of any agent's job. But despite my best efforts, I have caught a cold. Now that I think about it, Mother Base's numbers are on the rise, with soldiers coming from all different places and backgrounds. It is no wonder then that sooner or later someone would bring in a virus. That said, is just a common cold. The medical team said I'd need a few days rest. Restricted to my room and put on bed rest. I thought I'd gotten used to not having anyone around to relate to, but at times like these, being alone is just miserable. All I could do is lay there and stroke Nuke's back, trying to take my mind off how bad I felt. Nuke just sat there, not making a sound. But I did have visitors. Amanda and Chico, Huey, Cecile, Miller, and a few of the soldiers I've become relatively close to. Amanda made me a soup with herbs she said were good for a cold. Miller told me to take it easy. I will sing you a lullaby, he said, then broke out a guitar and sang some incomprehensible song in Japanese. I did not need to understand the lyrics to know he is an awful singer. Then he said, "You know what is good for a cold? Suppositories. Here, I'll show you." He began to take off his pants, so I threw my tissue box at him to make him go away. Then, Strangelove showed up, saying she had some miracle Indian cure. It has got eucalyptus extract, she said. It works best if you rub it into your chest. And then she tried to take off my nightshirt. I whacked her with my pillow, and I got rid of her. Chico brought me a little flower in a cup. It had been growing in a little bit of earth that probably found its way on board, stuck to something else. I found this on the deck. Here, you can have it. He tried to act nonchalant, but I am pretty sure he's got a crush on me. None of them understand. If they thought these little visits would cheer me up, they would. Tonight, Snake himself came to my room. Like the rest, he believes I am just a schoolgirl and treats me as such. Why did you abandon your country, I asked him. Why create the MSF? Of course, I knew the answers already, but I wanted to hear it from him. As I had imagined, he was not exactly forthcoming. All he would say is that his country abandoned him because all he could do was fight. And that is why he needed the MSF, because that is all he is any good for. Then he said, "Fighting is the only thing I understand, but that does not mean I have got a grudge against those who believe in peace. I am not one of them, and I do not believe in peace. Conflict is in man's nature. We fight our enemies in order to survive. Maybe we are not so different after all, he and I. But that is exactly why I'm going to have to kill him, or else he will have to kill me. When I stop and think about this wretched existence, being killed by a man like that suddenly does not seem like such a bad thing. Every month, Mother Base throws a party for all the soldiers whose birthdays fall in that month. There is something strange about a military organization having parties. Really though, it is just an excuse to drink and make noise. It is not easy to get alcohol in a fortress in the middle of the ocean. Most days they are training from dawn till dusk. They do not have time for things like drinking. That is why Snake and Miller came up with the idea to give everyone a chance to let loose. Obviously, a bunch of bores like that are not going to bother with blowing out candles on a cake. Rather, they sit there in a cloud of cigarette smoke, drink beer, eat meat, tell tasteless jokes, and swap crude insults about one another's hometowns. But it hardly ever breaks out into something serious. They talk up a storm, but they're just having fun. It is funny. You have got members of FSLN rubbing shoulders with the UCLAs, people who once would have considered the other mortal enemies. I wonder if that is what makes Big Boss so popular. In leaving their countries behind, they leave their hatred for other countries too. Miller seemed a little protective of me. Hope they're not being too crude, he said. But soon enough, he too was drunk. He yelled, "Come here and take a look at the real Kazuhira Miller." Then dropped his pants and mooned everybody. The other soldiers burst out laughing. I have never seen such a crude, ridiculous party before. And yet, all these people, laughing and acting the fool. Is this what they call peace? For some reason, I began to think about all that has happened since I came here. Fishing with Chico, cooking with Amanda and Cecile, playing soccer, having visitors when I caught a cold. When I stop and think about it, my time here has been the most peaceful of my life. But that is about to end. I cannot imagine he will be willing to negotiate. It seems I am to fight the legendary Big Boss. I do not know if I'll be able to beat him. But if I have to choose between death and defying Cypher, I will gladly choose death. The thought of dying does not scare me. But if I disobey my orders, the fear and despair awaiting me will be far worse than anything I can imagine. It was Cypher who took me in as an orphan, gave me food and a place to live. His orders may have been unreasonable, but I will never repay my debt entirely. It seems I have no choice. I must fight this man. I must fight Snake. Do you know Miller, Snake's right-hand man? Apparently has got at least one serious weakness. He is an insatiable womanizer. He does not bother me, most likely because he considers teenagers off-limits. But he has hit on every single one of the few female soldiers here at Mother Base. They ought to be telling him where to stick it, but end up falling for it so easily. I think some of it stems from the fact that he is actually not that bad looking. Anyway, today, that nasty habit got him in trouble. He and Snake got into one of their rare fights, and I was there to see it. They burst out of the showers, completely naked, trading punches. I am no child. The sight of a naked man does not make me blush, but this was something else. "Maybe this'll teach you," Snake yelled as he slammed his fists into Miller's chest. I heard later that apparently he had been two-timing someone, and that same someone had gone to Snake with her troubles. As I see it, it is her own fault for letting herself be deceived like that. If she is too dumb to see through Miller's lies, then she got what she deserved. But this was not the first time it had happened, or the second, and Snake read Miller the riot act. Miller argued back, and what began as a shouting match turned into a fist fight. "You son of a bitch," Miller yelled as he swung. "Not bad," said Snake, smiling, "but not good enough." And then he was back on the offensive. They had already been at it pretty hard in the showers, and their bodies were covered with bruises. Both of these men had been trained for war, their bodies deadly weapons. They were each bleeding from a dozen places. All this from a fist fight. Even so, It was far less gruesome than if they had given it their all. It was obvious that one of them would be dead were they fighting for real. Miller took another swing, yelling, "Try this then!" Snake parried, then responded in kind. But I could tell he was not aiming for anything vital. "You are one tough bastard, boss," Miller muttered. A smile crept across his face as he caught his breath. And then they went right on fighting. Blood and sweat flew off their glistening bodies. It was combat without hatred or hostile intent. I had never seen violence like this before. And yet, it was more than just a friendly tussle. They were utilizing every technique they knew. It was not a sporting match. They were not playing by the rules. How could they keep this up? At last, the two men tired themselves out, and the bizarre scene came to an end. They looked at each other's battered bodies, and then burst out laughing, embracing and congratulating each other on a good fight. It all seemed so idiotic. I still cannot fathom such behavior. But somehow, I got the sense that for all his womanizing, Miller really only trusted one person, and that was Snake. There was no way I could ever come between the two of them. And at that thought, I began to feel as if I had lost. All of Mother Base is preparing for a festival. Since Snake and his soldiers spend so much time fighting, they are setting aside one day a year for peace and relaxation. I do not know all the details, but apparently that is what Snake and Miller decided. These soldiers love the idea, of course. There is so little fun to be had here that everybody looks forward to events like these. That is all well and good. But somehow, I got roped into getting on stage. "Come on, we even both have peace in our name," said Miller. "And Zadarna, that old Ruski's name, has something to do with peace too, right? Hey, as long as we're having a day of peace, we ought to get an act together. The Three-Piece Band." I thought he was joking. He then proceeded to share his idea without bothering to check with me. And now, I am slated to sing. Apparently, he had heard me on the deck one day, and since then he's wanted to form a band. Everybody's looking forward to it, so there is no way for me to back out now. I have never done anything like this, but it does feel kind of nice to know that people are looking forward to it. I mean, it cannot be any worse than Miller's singing. But modifications to Zeke are already finalized, and I must complete my mission. Betray Cypher now, and I will face a fate far worse than death. Still, there's no need to put things in motion just yet. What difference would it make to just wait a little while longer? A whole day of peace. The mission can wait until after that. Can it not? I know I'm only delaying the inevitable. When the day comes, one of us will have to die. Snake or me. But still, if I could just come up with some way to stall Cypher, at least until our day of peace. When did I start having thoughts like this? My cover is blown. They know nothing of Cypher or my true objective, but they know I am a spy. There is no more time left. I must act now. I must complete my mission. How did it come to this? All I wanted was 3 more days. Just 3. Miller's already finished writing the song. It is called Love Deterrent. It is about a girl who cannot express her true feelings. I have been practicing. I am no pro, but I was pretty sure I would do a decent job.
Wow. Another S rank. I couldn't find those last 6 guys to save my life. I guess there's like 8 guys in there. 8 guys in the main base or whatever. I'm just a little bit on edge today. I went and I donated plasma, and that doesn't have any side effects by itself. On my TikTok account, I made a video about it, so if you want to make money by bleeding for a half an hour twice a week, that's where you can find my affiliate stuff. But you get extra money, I get extra money, everybody wins. But don't feel pressured. No, the reason I'm on edge is I had to. I posted a thing on Medium today, and as I normally do whenever I head to the blood plasma donation place, and the thing on Medium was all about a lot of different things, but I was trying to get all the information to my doctor that the dentist had given me. They said that I grind my teeth at night. I had no idea. And they said I'm going to need a mouth guard. So I tried to get it from the VA. They said that's something that's only covered by VA dental, which is always... VA dental is always exclusively covered by like you have to have a certain amount of disability. I'm rated at 0% disability through the VA, and so I didn't learn that until after I posted that thing on Medium. I had a message from my primary care physician at the VA, Veterans Affairs, and they said, yep, you don't have enough disability to get that for free. So I was like, okay. And I looked around. What's next? Neutralization? Yeah. Look at this bullshit. Oh, fastest completion time isn't filled in yet. What the hell? Alright, neutralization, I guess. Hopefully that goes a little bit quicker. That should. Put everybody to sleep, knock them out, whatever. And hopefully I know where everybody is now. So I looked around for different things to do, different places to get a mouth guard, and it said that Walmart sells it. And I was like, you know, I don't want to like rely on Walmart and then have to like check the Walmart app and see if each individual Walmart near me quite possibly contains one. So I checked again and found out that Walgreens has it. So I stopped by Walgreens on the way home, and then I had to stop by Walmart on the way home anyways, because I am out of sour food, and that's a fucking emergency, isn't it?
You've got to stay out of sight. Before you go any further, use your binoculars to recon.
I've been having cravings for sour food recently, and I don't know what that's about.
To get more intel.
I assume that whenever I have a craving for sour food, that means that like my body's like craving probiotics or something.
Press the action button.
Hell yeah. I just figured that like I crave sour foods, that probably means that my body's craving probiotics, because what is sour? Probiotics. Just about any fermented food.
To the old prison area. You can bring up the target's location
So,
with your iDroid.
way back in the land before time, I used to make my own yogurt.
Take a good look at the enemy through your binoculars.
That's probiotic.
And mark him. Marked enemies can be sensed when nearby, even if there's a wall between you and them. But you should move. If you do that holding the dash button, you'll move faster.
Did I mark this guy up here? Yeah, I did. Hopefully he goes to bed this time. Cross my fucking fingers. There he is. This is rubbish. Pardon my language. There we go. That counts as a neutralization.
It's effective for dealing with nearby enemies.
So back whenever I used to live in a studio apartment in Alton, I used to make my own yogurt. But it's kind of a pain in the ass. Like, in order to make it, according to this, like, likely Eastern European guy that I found on YouTube.
It'll help you stay out of sight, but watch you don't get hypothermia.
The 66-step process of making it. Like, first you got to take like a gallon of milk or something like that. Then you got to heat it to a certain temperature. It has to be above a certain temperature and below a certain temperature. It's like while stirring, don't let the damn thing form like a skim or whatever. Then once it gets to that temperature, then you have to impregnate it with I think you have to now wait for it to cool. It's like first it needs to be sterilized, then you have to wait for it to cool. It can't be at such a temperature where such a temperature where it sterilizes the good bacteria, the stuff that you want.
You'll find the targets there.
Are you kidding me? So then you have to like take the entire thing and then shove it into a cooler that I bought specifically for this reason. And that's... I was looking for them last time because I saw them during a YouTube video speedrun guide thing. But no, there was nobody in there. Okay. There we go. Well,
Way too exposed there. Find some cover and stick to it.
it doesn't matter. I was like, I'm going to run out of tranquilizer darts, and then I was like, well, I just need to. Really?
Use a flare grenade to call the chopper to your current position. Just don't forget you might put it in danger of being shot down.
Hands up. Spit it out.
Map has been updated.
Lie down.
I was like, oh, I had to reload on the chopper. I was like, no, I could just go down to the West refugee camp. And then I was like, oh, I need to go down to the West refugee camp anyways, because I forgot to get the non-lethals. I was like, wait a second, I need to go down there, and I need to call down the helicopter, because I forgot to rescue Big Man over here before he gets slaughtered. And he will get slaughtered.
Prisoner, you gonna help him? If you want to extract him, carry him to the RV and call in the chopper.
Correct alignments. Surrounding zones confirmed.
Alright.
Roger that chopper request. It's headed your way now.
Ugh. I go up, down, and all around.
Just to save my ass. Alright?
So you take like a gallon of milk or whatever, you put it in like a stock pot.
Use the drainage chain.
The map has been updated.
You heat it up to a certain temperature.
Keep low. You can check the controls on the pause screen. You can use that to take out their vehicles or anti-air guns. But you'll be broadcasting your position to the whole base. If you're gonna use it, be ready.
Once you let it cool down to a certain temperature, you infect it with the with some regular yogurt or starter from the last time that you made yogurt. It's like you need yogurt to make yogurt. Who made the first yogurt and how did they do it? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question.
This is Morpho, on station at LZ.
Then you like stir it around for a little bit, and then you like shove the whole thing
Mission abort. If you want to continue the mission, move away from the chopper. What's wrong, boss? Mission abort?
You have to do that at a certain speed, not too fast, not too slow. Did he go away in a weird... Did he fly away in a weird method? Like, because we are nowhere near anybody who's awake and conscious and ready to fire on the chopper. At least I didn't think that we were. So then you gotta like put this entire stock pot of milk with yogurt in it Dang it, I gotta get down from the tower and check it out myself. And that stuff is spooky. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, boys! That's what they call the 21 feet rule. Don't whip out a gun if your opponent is within 21 feet of you, because they can close the distance before you can properly aim and pull the trigger. It's weird, because the apparently, like, the average person takes 5 seconds to apparently the average person takes 5 seconds to draw a weapon, aim it, and fire, which is fucking ridiculous. Because in the Navy, very, very basic handgun course, you're expected to draw your weapon, aim, and fire all accurately several times in the span of 2 seconds at times. And that's the Navy. Like, it is not exactly the most elite force. I know you're saying, like, well, what about the Navy SEALs? Yeah, they have a different course, man. They have to do additional stuff with their weapons on top of the normal Navy stuff. That is generally the way that things work with special forces. They're a regular force first, then they're expected to do a bunch of extra stuff. That's what makes them special. I guess it's easier whenever you're armed. Like, you're like armed and on duty. Because you got like a proper holster and everything.
That's the old prison area. The targets are there.
Because if you're like, if you've got your, if you've got your handgun like tucked into your waistband, pointed down at your, what the hell is that? That's bullshit. Did you see how, like, didn't give me a chance to do reflex?
You've got to stay out of sight. Head for the old prison. You'll find the targets there.
It didn't matter.
That's the old prison area. The targets are there.
So I think like a person that has not practiced, hasn't been like drawing out their gun and aiming it over and over again, because you do. You'll just sit there and like, you'll sit there with like a plastic gun and pull it out of your holster over and over again and point it and aim it over and over again before you ever even step foot on the in the gun range with the actual weapon. So I guess it's a little bit easier whenever you're like on duty and you're already armed up and everything. So a lot of people didn't like really,
Spit it out.
if they wake up, they're no longer neutralized.
That's fine if he has some intel, I guess.
So I do have to go around again and hold everybody up so that they stay neutralized. Wow, what a pain in the ass. Okay. They should stay down. I don't think that I'm in this mission long enough for anybody to wake up. Not for safety's sake. A lot of people didn't like the waist holster. I always had the waist holster. A lot of people wanted to switch to the leg holster. So like you have like your utility belt, like Batman, and then you have like a separate piece that like latches onto that, and that's the waist holster, and that's the leg holster, and it like latches onto your thigh. So it's more like, without being inbuilt, it's more the one that RoboCop had. You know what I mean? So that's your leg holster. I didn't like that. I didn't like it being all the way down there. If you get everything in your utility belt situated just right, you can kind of like rest your arms on it, and it's like walking around in a big armchair at all points in time. And resting your arms on it is actually a good thing, because doing that means that you've got positive control on all of your weapons at all points in time. So you feel like you're in an office chair, but you're actually doing something that's proper.
That's fine if he has some intel, I guess.
It's very hard to get that. It's very hard to get something that is, you know, something proper in the military that's not going to get you yelled at or anything like that. And simultaneously, it's also like relaxing in some way, shape, or form. There's a certain rifle position that's the same way.
Please select a landing zone confirmed.
Roger that chopper request. It's headed your way now.
There were people that wanted to switch to a chest holster, and we have something it sounds really bad in the Navy. It sounds really bad, but it's just the term that we use. In the Navy, we have something called a Sea Daddy, and that's somebody who mentors you. And my Sea Daddy, very correctly, whenever everybody was wanting to switch to the chest holster because it felt like more tactical and it looked like something in the movies, he would say, okay, well, I'll let you get one of those, but you got to run through the range with it. It's like you got to practice with it and everything. And I don't remember if he did that for the leg holster, because it's kind of just reaching a little bit further down, but it makes perfect sense. It's like, hey man, if you're going to carry your gun around in your waistband or something like that, you're going to have to practice whipping that damn thing out and getting it on sight and squeezing off a round nice and accurately.
Target's inside. Is that it? He's coming too. Roger that.
People think that like accuracy doesn't matter. It's crazy. It's crazy how little people think about this kind of stuff. And how whenever people think about this stuff, they're not exactly using 100% of their brain, man. Like, people think that accuracy doesn't matter. Like, if you get enough rounds down range, then it's not going to matter. Something's going to hit it. And that is not true at all. Like, in one of the previous recordings, I talked about talking guns. That's the process where you've got, like, two people that have machine guns, right? these two people, they both have machine guns, and one person runs out of bullets, and so the other person will conserve their ammunition while still laying down cover fire by continuing to shoot short bursts. And the reason that they're shooting short bursts in the first place is because full auto, just letting loose with all of those bullets, it's very inaccurate. Every time the gun shoots out a bullet, it's an explosion within the barrel of the gun. It causes recoil. It makes your arms and hands go up and back a little bit, you know what I mean? And it gets you off target.
Spit it out.
Pardon the fuck me, but did an entire Jeep disappear? Where's the car?
Speak.
A guy just popped up. There's the guy. Where's his car? The fuck? I didn't think that the draw distance was going to be so bad that it was going to cause the disappearance of entire vehicles. That's new. That is new. It's like, man, if I was playing on the PS3, it'd be impossible. It'd be ridiculous. Wow, what a nightmare. Anyway, so like, people think that you can just put like rounds downrange, and if you put enough of them downrange, they'll hit somebody, and that is not true at all. The thing is, you have a limited amount of bullets, and there are 360 degrees in which you can fire, but that's on one axis. Like, if you are firing, if you hold your arm straight out to the side and fire once, that's, you know, that's 1 degree. And then you fire again while very, very slowly raising your arm. And eventually you'll be firing straight overhead. And then you can do that again, you know, going down and then fire straight down. And now you've fired 180 degrees, and you can do it again with your arms all the way out at the side again. Your other arm all the way out to the side again. But that's just straight out to your sides. Now you have to start firing with like your arm extended in front of you. And then, you know, at a slight angle, like northwest-ish. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it just keeps going from there. Like, and in the meantime, your opponent isn't just standing there, you know, waiting to get shot while you're actively attempting to shoot him. You know what I mean? Like, so the thing that is more important than anything else is accuracy. Getting that damn thing on target is important. So that answers your next question. Your next question is, I've heard some stuff from the History Channel or the Discovery Channel or both about how durable the AK-47 is, and you know, why doesn't the United States military use the AK-47? Instead, they use this M4, which is much less accurate. And it just, you know, it isn't much less accurate. It's accurate for 100% of your shots. The AK-47 is very durable. And it's very accurate for your first shot. All your subsequent shots, all the shots after your first shot, might not be on target because the AK-47 has a high enough recoil that it knocks you off target. And I know that you're going to utilize your anecdotal evidence. I fired an AK-47 and it wasn't, and I could overcome the recoil and stay on target. I was accurate the entire time. Oh, well, nice for you, but that's not what we found whenever we did the firearm trials that led to the M4 being adopted as the service rifle. I'm saying M4. I'm trying to be cool like the new kids. Because whenever I started in the Navy, we had the M16. It was a different time. So that's how we started in the Navy. Was with how I started was with the M16. And whenever we did switch to the M4, I just, fully extended the stock so that it would be as long as an M16. And that's how we dealt with that problem. Because it's basically, in every other way, it's essentially the same. It's an M16 with a collapsible stock. It's a little bit lighter than the M16, but besides that, it's basically an M16 with a collapsible stock, that's all. So it was a pretty easy transition. Now we had a 6 hour, and I think it was because we had a helipad, and in my first duty station in Korea. But we had, I think, 2 6 hours in the armory, and everybody wanted a chance to go shoot it, and I didn't. I didn't give a shit. But now they fully adopted it as the service pistol, I believe, across most branches of the military. And as a result, like, as a result, now we have this weird, to me, we have this weird service pistol that has far less safeties than I'm used to. I can't remember all the safeties that's on an M9 Beretta, but there's quite a few. So I mentioned and essentially answered your question for the M16/M4 versus the AK-47 as a rifle, right? But that question and answer portion also answers all your questions about why the M9 Beretta replaced the 45. It's like, oh, the 45 pistol has a lot more stopping power. Nobody gives a rat's ass about stopping power. We're not facing enough enemies that have body armor on for that to ever be something that we really worry about. We don't really lose a lot of sleep over lack of stopping power. Believe it or not, the purpose of shooting somebody is to get them to stop doing whatever they were doing that made you shoot them. That's the purpose, that's the reason. And it works in most situations for most people. Simply put. I'd say, no, guns are tools for killing. The purpose of shooting somebody is to kill them. No, it's not. No, it's not. And that's stupid. There's fucking plenty of people, there's plenty of ways that you can kill someone, and, you know, you don't have to learn how to operate a new device, like a gun. You don't have to learn how to, like, do anything with it. And a corpse is not actually very useful. Believe it or not. There's not too many activities that you can get up to with corpses that benefit the military in any way. It's like, it might be briefly cathartic for you to murder the person that's been shooting at you, but in actuality, what's much more useful to the military is somebody who's alive. And if they need medical care, well, if they're alive and they don't need medical care, then hell yeah, that's the most useful person. Like, during the 2003 invasion of Iraq, a lot of Saddam's forces straight up, like, surrendered. And so that's really useful. You've got somebody who doesn't need any resources at all. They've got everything that they need. You don't have to feed them. You don't have to water them. You don't have to, like, whip out the doctors and a bunch of, like, medical knowledge or anything. Like, they're good to go. And they're ready, like, they're ready and raring to start giving you good information. Oh, here's where my guy's set up. You know, this is the type of things that they were teaching us. These are the type of weapons that we have. Like, that's fucking great. that's really useful to the military. Whenever somebody doesn't, because then you can give them medical attention and, you know, everything's going to be hunky-dory. But a corpse has none of that. They're not ready and willing to do anything. Why did it say 40 there? What the hell was that? Oh! The first guy that I interrogated must have given me the location of the last guy. And it's probably this guy up here. Yeah. So he gave me the location of this last guy, which marked him. And that means I can go and get the fastest neutralization. There we go. Hooray! So it's really cool. If somebody's like shooting at you and like they're like the enemy to your branch, the military at this point in time, and you like shoot at them and they're like, wow, getting hit with that bullet, that was not something that I enjoyed whatsoever. I think I'm gonna say, you know, forget all this bullshit. And then they like surrender, then that's good. that's good stuff. You can just treat their bullet wound and then move on from there. And hopefully they'll feel indebted to you for like saving their lives, even though you're the one that put their lives in danger. But you know, that's fair. They did it first, self-defense. You know, so yeah, that's pretty cool. But if a soldier shoots to kill, then all they're going to make is a corpse, and that's useless. If they don't make a corpse, and we get, you know, a guy, then that guy can do things like say, like, hey, here's where my guy is set up and stuff like that. Here's where the rest of us are. And then the military can go in, and what are they going to do? Are they going to kill them? Are they going to make corpses? No, corpses still are not useful. Like, making corpses is like the military's least favorite thing to do, believe it or not. They're just not that useful. So they're going to go in, they're going to take that information that the enemy gave them and go in there and make a bunch of more corpses? No, they're going to try to do the same thing. They're going to try to go out there and hopefully they can say like, hey, you're surrounded. Surrender now and you will not be harmed. And hopefully they will surrender. You can take them prisoner and do the same thing. And then they say like, wow, here's where the rest of my guys are. And you can just do that over and over and over again. It's a pretty cool little thing there, right? See how all that works? That makes sense to you? I think it was on MASH, that old military show MASH, if you've ever seen it. I think it was on MASH where someone said, who the flip are you sending? This guy? Oh, no, it's... Are the roles reversed? Is he sitting up there claiming that they're suspicious people again? Because he keeps seeing his guys laying face down? Is that happening again? That whole thing was happening like 2 recordings ago, you remember?
The RV's just a little further.
But yeah, the most useful thing to do, believe it or not, you can sit there and say, like, the government has bloodlust, and, like, all they want is to, like, kill people and stuff like that, but it just doesn't make any sense from, like, a businessman's perspective, right? The military wants to spend as few of its resources as possible. Bullets cost money. And so does medical care, and so does training people and all this kind of stuff. Try to go down the ladder again. Okay. Once you get done with this whole ladder thing, we can really get rocking and rolling here. Alrighty then. So, the perfect war would be the war where we don't use any of our bullets. There's a reason why, like, all sorts of different, people inside the military have budgets of some type because they're trying to reduce spending as much as possible. They don't have infinite money. They don't actually have infinite money. At some point in time, they'll hear the word no. If they keep asking for more and more money, they'll hear the word no. And it's not something that someone wants to hear whenever there's lives on the line. So the perfect war would be one where, like, no bombs, no bullets, no nothing. None of that is dispensed in any way, shape, or form. That would be the ideal war in the eyes of just about everybody participating in it, but also the military's eyes as well. can say like I said, you can try to make counter arguments, but all the counter arguments that you make, the only thing that you're going to be doing is trying to dehumanize someone. So you'll try to dehumanize someone. You'll try to dehumanize the military people. You'll try to say, like, all military people are bloodthirsty. And so they just want to sate their bloodlust. Well, the fact of the matter is that even if they were bloodthirsty and they sated their bloodlust, killing one another in your own species is an unnatural act, and it has with it some mental illnesses and stuff like that will come about from that. So even if it's cathartic in the moment for the person doing it, it comes with resources that get drained in the future. You know what I mean? You're going to have to, if this soldier, if this military person breaks themselves apart by taking the life of another human being, and you have to put their psyche back together, that costs money, that costs time, that costs resources. And so you can try to dehumanize all the military service members and say, like, well, they just want to kill. But it's simply not true. It's not true in an absolute term. There's no evidence that points towards that. Just keep your ass ranks, man. Just keep knocking this shit out of the park. But it's like you can try to dehumanize military people, you know, as much as you want. There's just not going to be any evidence behind that. And it's not going to get you anywhere, because dehumanizing people, all it does is make them not humans. And it puts you further away from being able to understand what they did. And therefore, you know, you won't be able to try to prevent it in the future. So I think during The Unforgiving Minute, A Soldier's Education by Craig Mullaney, during that book, they talked about how they figured out that some of the terrorists were just a terrorist organization. It was just like a company. It was like Starbucks. Like, the prevailing theory was that everybody within these organizations are what they call true believers. So these people were engaging in a holy war against the United States of America, and they believed in the cause, and because of that, they can't be reasoned with. But that wasn't true at all. The fact of the matter is that, like I said, it was like Burger King or Starbucks or something like that. It was an employer. And what they were doing was they were going out and they were salting and raising farms and stuff like that. Raze, R-A-Z-E. So they were like starving and causing droughts and stuff like that to push up recruitment numbers to replace those that were being lost in the war. And so that's what they were doing. So what happened as part of all that, as part of that book, you can look in that book, as they started doing aquaponics for farms and stuff like that, and that caused them to stop taking fire. They were able to get shot at less because they were protecting farms more. Because the farmers, they want to do farming. They don't want to get out there and possibly get shot in the freaking face by, you know, U.S. military personnel. You have to really back them in a corner for them to get into a position where they've got a gun in their hand and they're facing down a military that's never lost a war. That's not a good position for anybody to be in. And so, like, you know, they're on their last leg. So just by making sure that they weren't on their last leg, that was that. Then we found out that the terrorist organizations were paying these terrorists $300 a month to shoot at military personnel, and so we hired them and started paying them we started paying them $900 a month to build roads and schools. And those roads and schools, were able to make their lives a lot easier. It was just more and more of it. It was able to educate them for different possibilities that don't involve shooting each other. Like, it was just an investment into the future. It was really, it's really uplifting and inspiring. But I think that second thing was hidden in one of the other books that I read. I just remember the aquaponics and everything. That was from The Unforgiving Men of the Soldier's Education. It's like one of the officers had to like put on their farmer's hat and teach themselves how to do aquaponics so that they could teach the farmers how to do aquaponics, all so that the farmers could become self-sufficient again. And because they were self-sufficient again, they didn't take up arms against the United States military. Such a strange course of events. So you can try to dehumanize service members. You can try to dehumanize the people giving the orders. You can try to dehumanize politicians if you want. But the fact of the matter is that even the politicians themselves, they have no use for a great amount of spent resources. That still looks upon them poorly whenever they misuse a budget. So even they have no reason for bloodlust. So you can try to dehumanize a bunch of different people in order to simplify everything. But like I said, all that does is that gets in the way of your empathy, which disallows you from being able to figure out why they're doing what they're doing. Which, if you can figure out why they're doing what they're doing, you can get them to stop. And that way, the war is no longer needed, right? A fairly simple and easy thing. First, you got to defend yourself, right? You can't figure out that farmers need aquaponics if you're dead. So whenever people start shooting at you, you have to first defend yourself. But after that, that's whenever they can track down these things and say, oh, farmers are joining the terrorist organizations because the terrorist organizations are causing droughts and salting fields and stuff like that. So if we can protect the farmers' fields from the terrorist organizations and then train the farmers to be self-sufficient so that we don't have to constantly replace the police and government, we can instead, teach them additional ways to be self-sufficient even whenever nobody is protecting them, then we can come to a point in time that people stop shooting at us. And that's precisely what happened. So it's really cool whenever you get all the way through the process and everything. Like I said, you can turn off your empathy and dehumanize a bunch of different people. And the only thing that you're going to do is back yourself into a corner, and you're not going to know any reason why people are doing the things that they're doing. And you won't be able to get them to stop. And you're going to keep defending yourself, and you're going to keep fighting your entire life. And one day, you're going to lose. We all do at the end. We all lose a fight against death in the end. But you can make life a hell of a lot more enjoyable if you're not constantly defending yourself. You know what I mean? Anyways, I got a bunch of chores to do and everything, so I'll be back next time, and hopefully I'll take out all the trials for hard mode. Let's check the play records again one more time. Total kills 0. So next time we'll do all the trial records for hard mode for the main mission, Ground Zeroes, and then we'll start picking through all of these other different missions. I think whenever it comes to ease of use here, there's probably nothing easier than Deja Vu, just because the sheer lack of numbers in the base. So that might be the first one that we go to and try to complete it without any kills. Let me see here. Mgsv. It's pretty easy to figure out who is base personnel and who is a body snatcher, so that's That's a pretty easy one too, so we might go from deja vu to jamais vu. Taking this out without taking out any of the... That's pretty easy too, so that might be the next one. This one's pretty easy to do non-lethal. There's just not that many moving pieces of this little story here. And then this one. And then probably eliminate the enemy, or Intel Operative Rescue, because that one's going to be a son of a bitch trying to do it non-lethally. Either way, I guess that's going to be the wave of the future. But until then, I got a bunch of chores to do, and then I got to hit the sack. So, I will talk to you next time.